Alright guys, welcome back. Let's get going. Today we're gonna be solving x squared equals to k. Okay, quite exciting. So the first thing we got is to recall prime factorization. We have 18 and we have 72. I know we all remember how to do this. Pause the video if you like, and when you're ready, you can check the answer with me. So 18, here we go. So we put that in the middle, put that little L shape over here, and then we'll look for what number can divide this 18 first. So we got a 2 over here, and then we got a 9, and then we got a 3, and then we got a 3. So that means we can actually write our 18 equals to 2.3.3 over here. 72, we do exactly the same thing. We got a 2, 36, and we have another 2, we have 18, we have 3, 9, 3, 3. So 72 can be written as 2.2.3.3.3. Very nice. Now, knowing the fact that 18 is equal to 2.3.3 and 72 equals to 2.2.3.3, as we see, if you have a square root 18 or square root 72, right, this is actually looking a little bit overwhelming over here compared to root 2 or root 5 or root 7, right? So our goal today is, can we actually simplify that a little bit? Okay, so we have 18, root 18. As we said before, we can actually rewrite our 18 as, inside the hat, we can write that as 2.3.3 over here. Okay, let's do the same thing first with 72. Okay, so what we're going to do is we got a 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Okay, and then we put dot over here. Okay, so look, here's the thing. Because of the rule that we went over yesterday, we can actually break them down into hat, 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 and this thing over here as hat, 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 and hat. Okay, so we can write that as root 2 times root 3 times root 3. This guy over here, I can write it as 2, root 2, root 2, and root 3, root 3. Okay, so now we're going to apply one of the rules again. If you have the same square root multiplying together, okay, root 3 times root 3, that is going to give us a 3. Okay, that means we get to take out our hat over here. And then the root 2 over here will still just be root 2 because I got nobody to combine with. I can't take out my hat. Okay, so we have root 2 times 3. Now notice one thing, that the square root something, the radicals, are kind of like the letters x, y, or variables, t, u, and v, these kind of stuff. We usually like to actually put that at the very end. Okay, so we like to start with the number over here. So we have 3, and then root 2. So this is the simplified version of your number, root 18. Okay, it looks pretty good. Root 18 is such a large number under the hat. It's quite heavy. If you take some numbers out, there you go. You can simplify your root 18 to be 3 root 2. So root 18 and 3 root 2, those are exactly the same thing. Same thing over here for root 72. In this case, we actually have two pairs over here. So first of all, I have the root 2 and root 2. And we have the other pair over here. There's a root 3 and root 3 over here. Okay, so we can group them. First of all, the root 2, still root 2. Okay, but then the root 2 times root 2, from the second one, it becomes a 2. And then the root 3 times root 3 will give you a 3. Okay, again, we like to put numbers at the front. 2 times 3 will give you a 6. And then the root 2 is still a root 2 over here. So we are done. Square root 72 is exactly the same as 6 square root 2. Here are 2 more examples. Pause the video, and whenever you're ready, we can go over together. So for part A, if you see smaller numbers, I hope you can kind of do your mental math over here and realize that this is actually 2.2.5, right? 4 times 5, right? Let's do part B together. So 98 over here. So 98, if you don't know, you can quickly do the L thingy again. So you divide it by 2, you got 49, and then you got 7, 7. So your root 98 is basically 2.7.7. Okay, let's take out some couples over here. So remember, if you group them together, when they combine together, they become just a single 2 over here. And then the root 5 is still inside the hat. But you can kind of imagine these like couple over here, these two people over here just, went out from the house together. And just because they're together, we are writing that as one piece over here. So a single 2 can actually represent the couple over here. How about that? So the answer is 2 root 5. Okay, this is just a little shortcut in the future that you can use. Okay, second one, that means we can do the same thing over here. 7 times 7, you can take it out as well. Okay, we found a couple. The couple goes out and becomes a single 7 over here. The root 2 is still inside. Okay, so this 7 over here represents the square root 7 times square root 7. Okay, so that's your final answer. Now we're moving on to solving x squared equals to k. For example, x squared equals to 9. I know you're probably going to say, hey, x is equal to 3. But is that really the case over here? Sure, you are right, but that's actually not the complete answer. Okay, because if you think about that, you actually have another answer. Okay, let's kind of go through a more scientific way over here. Okay, the first thing that I want you guys to recall is if you actually multiply the root, okay, to exactly the same thing over here, you actually get to take out your hat. Okay, so that's what we learned before. So in this case, if you have x squared equals to 9, what you can think of is actually, taking this 2 over here out, and then kind of, rotate it, and then, kind of rotate it, and then think about that as a square root over here. I know that looks terrible, but that's kind of the idea over here. So basically, that means if you want to take out the square, you will actually get a square root over here. But that's actually not the only answer, because if you think about that, we can also have minus root 9. Why? Because minus root 9 times myself, minus root 9 over here, I can actually get this thing. I can actually put the minus together. I have two minuses, so I have minus times root 9 times root 9. Right, this minus and minus actually gives me a plus. And then the root 9 and root 9, same as above, it gives me a single 9 over here without hat. Okay, so you might as well just write it as 9. So actually this thing over here, square itself, will actually also give you a 9 over here. So that means it actually satisfies this equation over here. So that means we actually have the other answer that's called minus root 9. This is always the case. Okay, always the case. Whenever you have x squared equals to something, the first thing that you need to do is put a cap on it, put a hat on it. So you have square root 9 and you have a negative square root 9. Okay, so you always have two answers in this case. Okay, so square root 9 or negative square root 9. And then from here, you can finally write your answer that you always expected. 3 or minus 3. Simply because square root 9 is just equal to 3. Minus square root 9 is just equal to minus 3. Okay? You probably wonder, do I actually need to go through this step over here? Can't I just write my x equals to 3 or negative 3? I mean, you could, but this is always a good step to start with, right? So you will always want to put a hat on, because sometimes we not necessarily will see a pretty good number like 9 over here. Sometimes people will ask you x squared equals 87, right? In that case, you will still probably much better off by just going through this step over here instead of going ahead and just trying to find out the decimal answers. Okay, so that's basically the whole concept over here. Now, before we move on to examples, we want to notice the difference between the following two questions. The first one is asking you, what is square root 9 equal to? The other one is asking you, if I have x squared equals to 9, then what is x? These two questions are kind of similar over here, but they're a little bit different. Square root 9, as we know, this is actually giving us the positive 3 only. Okay, so square root 9 is 3. If you want a minus 3, then you should ask minus square root 9 equals to what? Then I will get minus 3 as my answer. On the other hand, if you have x squared equals to 9, your x will be equal to, as we said before, you will have two versions. One is the square root 9 that you got from the left, actually. But the other one is actually the minus square root 9 over here. As you can see, the blue one will actually give you a positive 3. And then the orange one will actually give you a negative 3. So in this case, I actually have two answers for this question. X equals to 3 or negative 3. Whereas this one over here, my answer is just simply 3. So we got more examples. Solve for x. First of all, we will always figure out what x is. Always we have a square root or minus square root. Okay, in this one, we have square root or minus square root. Same thing for everything else. That's what we got for our first step over here. So now we're going to look at each case and we're going to determine the answer. So the first one is x equals to square root 49. Oh, square root 49, I think we know that is equal to 7. Minus version is just minus 7. There you go, you have your answer. 48, square root 48. We want to write our answer in a simplified, the most simplest form over here. So we need to first of all realize what 48 can be decomposed into. Okay, so we divide by 2, 24. So there you go. You have square root 48 equals to square root of 2.2.2.2.3 over here. Here you get two couples over here, right? Two different couples. Okay, both of them you can take out. When you take it out, just pick one representative and stand outside over here. So this 2 belongs to the green couples. Okay, so this 2 represents the yellow couples over here. Okay, so the answer is actually 4 root 3 if you simplify that. Okay, so this root 48 will give you 4 root 3. And this minus root 48 will give you minus 4 root 3. And these are your final answers. You just need to realize the fact that if you have a negative number inside the square root, this is no. Okay, how about the second one? You probably think that you can actually cancel these out over here, the minus and minus. Does that become a plus? Does that give me root 9, which is equal to 3? The sad thing is you cannot actually commute the negative sign inside the hat out. Okay, you can't actually take it out. Okay, you can take the numbers out, you can take the couples out, but you cannot take a negative sign out over here because it has no one else to pair with. Okay, it's not a couple over here, just a single minus sign, so I can't actually take it out. Okay, so in that case over here, I actually still belong in this case. I have a negative under my hat. Okay, with a negative sign outside over here, so that's not going to help. So both of them are no. So in this case, I actually have no solution. Now the last one over here, we got square root 0 or negative square root 0. Well, square root 0 is equal to 0 according to our rule yesterday. Negative square root 0 is just negative 0. But you probably realize one thing, 0 and negative 0, both of them are actually 0. So in this case, we only actually have one answer, x equals to 0. Now here are some harder questions which requires you to do a little bit of algebra before you actually figure out the final answers. Okay, so first one, you actually move the 4 to the other side, you get 5, x squared equals to 5. And then you do the same process over here, you got root 5 or minus root 5. Since we cannot simplify anymore, then that's basically it for our answer. You probably want to ask, hey, actually we have a shortcut over here, can we use that? Yes, you may. Okay, x equals to plus or minus square root 5, that looks cool. Okay, so if you like that, you can also write like this. You don't have to, but this is one of the options. The next one, you have x squared equals to 16. Okay, if you move the 10 to the other side, and that becomes a minus 10. Okay, and in this case, you get x equals to plus or minus root 16. And in that case, we mean root 16 is equal to 4. So in that case, we really mean plus or minus 4. So that's your answer. Now the last question. Still a little bit of algebra over here. First of all, we divide 2 on both sides. we have x squared equals to 12. X is equal to plus or minus square root 12. Okay, you probably need to do a little bit of math with the square root 12 over here. You realize that this is equal to 2 times 2 times 3, right? 4 times 3, right? So this is going to be equal to, you can take the couple out over here. So this is going to be 2 root 3. But this little 2 over here represents the couple that used to be inside. Okay, so in this case, you will say your x is equal to plus or minus 2 root 3. Last question. We have x squared plus 2x, the whole thing squared. Now, one thing that we need to be careful, as always, is 2 in the square. That also gets to be square as well. So we're going to put 2 squared, which is 4. And then the x squared also gets to be square as well. Okay, so we got 4x squared actually. That equals to 20. 1x squared plus 4x squared, that's equals to 5x squared. That's equals to 20. X squared is equal to 4. X is equal to plus or minus square root 4. X is equal to plus or minus 2. Okay, and that's it. So that's it for today, guys. Please stay healthy and stay safe. I'll see you in the next lesson. Peace.